Let's hear them complain about how this is such an injustice, even though we know they're really mad because they're losing power.
Yeah. So what people need to understand is when we talk about Section 5 and Shelby County, this is the case from 2013 that people were very upset, correctly upset, as gutting a key provision of the Voting Rights Act. That provision applied only to states with histories of discrimination in voting. What it basically said was those states couldn't change their voting laws without getting pre-cleared those changes to make sure they didn't disadvantage minority voters. But there was another provision. And in fact, in Shelby County, the Chief Justice cites this other provision, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, as applying nationwide. And what it does is it prevents vote dilution of minority voters' votes everywhere in the country. And it has particular application in the redistricting context. What it basically does in the redistricting context is says that white legislatures, Republican legislatures, cannot divvy up Black voters into a variety of districts and therefore deprive them of their ability to elect candidates of choice, particularly in jurisdictions where that kind of behavior has gone on before. The net effect of that has been that throughout the Deep South, but also, as you point out, not in the Deep South, in states around the country, Native Americans in some places, Hispanics in places like Texas have been protected from these kinds of vote dilution tactics. Well, if Section 2 is struck down, what it means is that Texas will be able to go back and redistrict again and destroy a bunch of districts where right now Black voters and Hispanic voters are able to elect their candidates of choice.
So to remedy Black people being historically drawn out of maps, they mandated that Black people were drawn in the maps, which I said before was fine for the time. But it has been 4 generations since Black people were second-class citizens. And just because you can point to existing disparities between Black people and white people isn't indicative of discrimination. On average, Korean Americans, Japanese Americans, Chinese Americans, Indian Americans, Nigerian Americans all make more than white Americans. But just because Black Americans remain at the bottom of the socioeconomic hierarchy because of Democrat policies, if I might add, the left screams that that's proof of existing systemic racism. America is a melting pot, and there will always be minority racial demographic groups. But to perpetuate laws that give minorities preferential treatment is to perpetuate the same systemic racism that we were trying to eradicate. I think we can all agree there's a middle ground between gerrymandered maps that completely exclude Black representation and creating irregular maps that give Black people arbitrary representation. I don't think any ethnic group should get preferential treatment in congressional representation, let alone anything else. There's a middle ground where maps can be drawn fairly and justly by population, not by ethnic makeup. We are the United States, not the Black states, not the white states, not the Hispanic states. White people are split 50-50 with Democrats and Republicans. Hispanics are 60-40 Democrat. Black people, we know, are 95% Democrat. So this idea that Black people or Hispanic people can't pick the representative of their choice if they're in a district with white people is just completely false.